Hi everyone. In today's video session, let us discuss wire gauge and a micrometer. At the end of this video, you will be able to use wire gauge and a micrometer. Let's start with wire gauge. What is meant by wire gauge? A wire gauge is a measurement of the diameter of a wire or the thickness of the wire. Why diameter or thickness of the wire is important in electricity? Because the current carrying capacity of the conductor is determined by its diameter. In other words, the thickness determines the amount of electrical current a wire can safely carry. For example, a 100-watt lamp carries more than a 50-watt lamp because a 100-watt lamp does more work than a 50-watt lamp, which means a 100-watt lamp produces more brightness than a 50-watt lamp. To do more work, 100-watt lamp requires more current than a 50-watt lamp. Just like a person who does physical work will have more food than a person who does office work. So, we cannot use the same wire size for both the lamps since the current carrying capacity depends on the thickness of the conductors, much like determining the size of the water pipe. Current flowing in a conductor is always analogous to water flowing in a pipe. The diameter of the water pipe always depends on the water flow. The same way, the diameter of the wire always depends on the current flow. If the thickness of the wire is not determined properly and not enough to carry the current, this situation is called overloading, which may cause the wire to increase its temperature and finally cause fire. How to measure the diameter of a wire? Different methods are carried out to measure the diameter of wire using instruments like vernier calipers, micrometers, and wire gauge plates. Gauge measures are typically divided into two types: American Standard Wire Gauge (AWG) and Standard Wire Gauge (SWG). American wire gauge originates from North America, which is composed of the US and Canada. The Standard Wire Gauge system, also called the Imperial Wire Gauge or British Wire Gauge, originated from the British, and this method was adopted by most countries, including India. SWG measurement is carried out by instrument SWG plate made up of steel. These wire gauges are available in a circular or oblong shape, and it is having slots along the edges of the shape, and each slot is stamped with wire size number. First, measure the wire or conductor size using the wire gauge plate, then identifies the diameter in inches or millimeters from the SWG chart. The smallest gauge size number will have a larger diameter of conductor, and the largest gauge size number will have a smaller diameter of conductor. SWG and wire size are like speed and time. The traveling time decreases as the speed increases, and the speed decreases as the time increases. Likewise, SWG number increases, the size of the conductor decreases, and vice versa. The smallest gauge number is 36, diameter of 0.0048 inch, and the largest is 0.00000070, which is written as 7 by 0 with a diameter of 0.5 inch. Begin with a multi-strand copper wire. Remove the insulation for an inch from the cable's end. Using a combination plier, pull out one of the single strands of conductor from the wire. Clean the surface of the wire with a cotton cloth. Straighten out the end of the conductor to be measured. Place the wire into each groove until you find the correct one. The slot in which the wire just slides is the right slot of the gauge. The fit should be snug but not too tight, and the number marked at the slot is the required gauge of the wire. If the wire only slides at slot number 21 and does not slide into slot number 22, the wire gauge is said to be 21 SWG. From the conversion table, get the equivalent size in inches and millimeters for the measured gauge value. For 21 SWG, the equivalent value is 0.032 in inches and 0.813 in millimeter. If the wire only slides at slot number 16 and does not slide into slot number 17, the wire's gauge is said to be 16 gauge and the equivalent value of gauge is 16 is 0.064 in inches and 1.63 in millimeters. It should be kept in mind that as the number of SWG increases, the diameter of the wire also decreases. Thank you for your time. Have a good day.